This is Party Wall Pro, the podcast where surveyors tell you how they first started and how they've grown their business, making it easier for you to get to the top.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Party Wall Pro, the podcast. Today, I'm very excited to have Stuart Birrell with me from Birrell. He's a fellow of the RICS and 40 years into the job, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or over 40 years. You are also a member of the London committee, the P&T Club. And so we've got a few questions that our audience have actually sent through that we're going to go through. But before we start, Stuart, how did you get to where you are? Give us a bit of a background of where you come from and how you ended up.
It's a long story. It's 43 years now, incidentally. I got into surveying by complete accident. I left school, had enough of education, worked on building sites. I hurt my back and I went to what used to be called the employment office to sign on, and they told me you can't sign on until you've applied for jobs. I'd been on a course with John Lang when I was at school, so I said, well, quantity surveyor. And they said, well, you want to be a quantity surveyor? No, I don't, but you've asked me to put a name down, so I have. Went for a couple of interviews, didn't like them, and I eventually ended up having an interview with something called a building surveyor, which I'd never actually heard of. And I quite like technical drawing, and that's basically what you did in those days when you started. So I took the job, and the rest is history, really. I qualified in 1982, became a fellow in 1995. Keith and I started our business in 1992, so we're 25 years old now. So, it's been a long time.
So you've seen it all. So 25 years in the business, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going okay. We've had organic growth. We're not great businessmen. We're surveyors basically, like most professionals. You get promoted out of your comfort zone, don't you? But we've done okay. We're still talking to each other, which is amazing, really. But
How did you meet Keith and decided to start a business together?
Well, yeah, all virtually parallel careers. I met him at college in late 70s, and we qualified on the same day. I got him a job where I was working at John Pelling's at the time. We became senior surveyors on the same day, associates on the same day, partners on the same day, and eventually we left on the same day. So it's rather boring, really. But yeah, I've known him a long, long time.
And from the general surveying into Party Wall, because I'm not sure what the kind of ratio Party Wall to other general building surveyor work you're doing at Birrell. But how did you end up developing this specialism?
You're looking for income streams running a business within your skill set. It has to be within your skill set, I think. Both of our history, we're contract surveyors, really. That's what we grew up doing. Mainly maintenance and rehabilitation of existing buildings. You get involved in party walls when you're doing it. So you start doing it, you learn a little bit, you work with people, you listen, you learn, and like 15, 20 years ago, it's probably a negligible part of our business. Now it's about 22-23% roughly. And we do a lot of licenses to alter, we still do a lot of construction work. We do dilapidations, we do most things that building surveyors do. But I've sort of specialised to a greater degree over the last 10, 12 years, I suppose, really.
And enjoying it?
Yeah, I do. It's less confrontational than doing construction work. So when it amuses me when people say, "Oh, they're being really difficult," and you think you don't know what difficult is, do you? People want to punch your head off, but I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Now that's interesting because more and more people seem to say that Party Wall is becoming more confrontational. Do you agree with that or not?
I think general behaviour has become more confrontational. I don't think it's just party walls, but as I say, it depends what you compare it with. I don't have that many problems, to be honest. I think if you go into it to try and reach a resolution, you generally will. You have to be reasonable, bit of give and take, and you normally get there.
Have you found yourself in front of someone you have no other way of just being confrontational and
It happens occasionally. Doesn't happen very often, but you've got mechanisms within the act to deal with that when it happens. If you're really, really struggling and you've got a third surveyor, I suppose, if you go ex parte, if you're really brave, you don't have to put up with it, do you? You don't want to.
Yeah. Is it a personal trait, or do you think it's an experience or lack thereof?
I think it's a personal trait, generally speaking. Sometimes it's a lack of experience and lack of confidence, and people become aggressive as a result. But generally, that's not the case. I think there are just certain people who are that way inclined, aren't they?
Good. Okay, so let's get into the meat. So as last time as well, we went out to our members and asked for people to submit any questions. So fees is something that comes up quite a bit. So first, I think it's a good starting point to start with. What gives the surveyor the right to recover their fee, and what constitutes reasonable or unreasonable
Yeah.
fees. So I sent Stuart the questions beforehand, so you were
I've had a chance to think about them. A
yeah,
little.
because well it you can deliver more value that way. So
Good. Good.
so here we go.
Well, if you're instructed to carry out work, you have a right to charge and recover fees, no matter what it is. It's slightly different with party rules because there is a statutory appointment involved as well. So starting with building owner, you have to have a statutory appointment, obviously. I always have a side appointment with it, which is a commercial agreement with the building owner, because usually building owners' fees don't go in the award. And you do want some mechanism to recover your fees if the owner decides he doesn't want to pay them. I don't really see any difference in that to any other work you carry out. I mean, I have agreements with my clients. We agree the fees and I charge them, and by and large they pay us. But you do have a right, obviously. After Fars Lane, sorry, let's go back. Before Fars Lane, the award would usually the adjoining owner fees are paid by the building owner, not always, but usually. But the debt was owed to the adjoining owner. You had to transfer the debt if you wanted to pursue the fee. Post Fars Lane, the judge sensibly, whether it's legally absolutely correct, doesn't really matter. It's a precedent case. You can actually put down that the building owner will pay the adjoining owner's fees, and you can pursue it, and it becomes a simple debt if it's not appealed. You can also put in the building owner's fees into the award if you want. It's not general practice, but it's becoming more so. All I would say, if you're going to do that, I think the adjoining owner should check the building owner's fees in the same way as he's checking adjoining owner's fees. They have to be reasonable. If you're going to rely on a statutory instrument, they should be works totally in pursuant of the Act. So if you got involved in doing other advice on it, then that should be charged separately. That shouldn't go in the award, in my opinion. But you have an absolute right to recover your reasonable fees. As to what's reasonable, that's a much more difficult question to answer. And it does depend on I think, the type of work you're doing. Obviously, where in the country you're working does make a difference as well. I don't think fees they've not just got to be correct in, I've spent this amount of hours and that's my hourly rate and that's what it is. I think they've got to feel right. I mean, you get some jobs and you look at what you've actually spent and I can't charge that. It's ridiculous. It's out of all proportion. And I don't think you should. I think it's compared to most areas of surveying or building surveying anyway, it's quite lucrative work. I think you can afford to occasionally make it feel right as well as be right. I think that's by and large where it goes wrong. You get a small domestic job and someone wants to charge thousands and thousands of pounds. It's almost more than the work's costing. It's just wrong. It's the sort of thing brings the Act into disrepute. But as to what's reasonable and what's a reasonable hourly rate, the government in their wisdom got rid of scale fees and used to have a scale way of working out an hourly rate, so it's what you can get away with by and large as far as I can see. If you're going to charge an enhanced hourly rate, you've got to add value. There's no point saying, I'm going to charge £250 an hour and you spend just as long as an assistant would at 120. You should do it quicker. You should add value. It really should balance out. I was remember years ago, the third surveyor referral I ever did was to John Anstey, and I got his hourly rate through it. It wouldn't sound that high now, but it was astronomical at the time. Oh my God, what's this going to cost? I warned my appointing owner to go for it. Yes, his hourly rate was very high. The amount of time he took was negligible. I think he did the whole thing in 2.5 hours. And you think, well, the fee was correct, despite the fact his hourly rate was probably 3 times anyone else I'd ever met at the time. But and that's what it's got to be. If you want to charge the enhanced rate, you've got to add some value.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure everybody does.
Yeah. So the example of an adjoining owner's surveyor is on the ball. He does his job, but the building owner's surveyor is very slow at coming back to you. And
Yeah.
the problem is that, and he comes back to you after 3-4 weeks, but during those 3-4 weeks, you're working on your other 20 jobs. So you have to go back to your file. You have to, and that you need to charge for that, I guess.
Yes, of course you do. And when I'm building owner and it happens, and it usually happens when they ask for some reasonable information, it's not available, and it takes weeks when it should have taken days because the building owner's not in a mad rush, and you have to accept that's going to happen, and that is a reasonable fee. I mean, if you incur time through the way your owners behave, then yeah, fine. I mean, that would have extra hours, no question about it. I agree with you. The one that really irritates me is when you get building owners surveyors who go in on a fixed fee, and there's no definition really. There's a sort of an acceptance of what building owner surveyor and joining owner surveyor does as part of the process, but there's nothing written down that says the building owner will take the schedule of condition and the joining owner will check it and all those things. So they get on a fixed fee and they do next to nothing. And then the joining owner surveyor, in order to get it over the line, ends up doing a lot of work that you would normally expect a building owner surveyor to do. It's wrong, and it's what's wrong with fixed fees, to be honest with you. If you're going to do a fixed fee, it's win, lose or draw. You've got to do the job. You can't go in at a fixed fee and then tailor how much time you spend depending on what you're charging. That's becoming more commonplace. It is becoming more commonplace, and it's worrying. It would be nice if we could define who does what, but I'm not sure that you really could as you become part of a tribunal. You're working together, supposedly.
That's actually it's a good transition to my second question on the fees. Is what is the current trend? Is that actually going upwards, downwards, or is it
Sorry, trend in what? Sorry, Philip.
Sorry.
Trend in what? Sorry.
The fees charged. So you're talking about fixed fees. Are more and more people doing fixed fees for building owner work?
Yeah, it does seem to be, especially on domestics. And I understand it. If you're building a small extension and you get caught in the Party Wall Act, and you want to control your costs, people are putting in fixed fees. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's a completely commercial decision. If you're running a business, you choose to do it. Having done it, you just have to accept you've still got to do the job. You can't. Well, I've got it very low, so I won't do it. I'll get the adjoining owner to do my job for me. It's not completely widespread. It's happening more and more. Yes, there is pressure on fees. There's no restriction on who can be a party wall surveyor. Anybody, apart from the owner himself, can be a party wall surveyor. There's no definition, criteria, or anything. And as more and more people become involved, you're getting people who are not experienced and just see it as a way of making an easy buck, I suppose. It's going to become a bigger problem, I think. We need to find a way of defining what is a competent party wall surveyor and someone who possibly isn't.
And there's nothing you can do if you find yourself appointed by an adjoining owner and you realise that the building owner surveyor is on a fixed fee and you know what's coming.
Yeah.
That you can determine with the building owner's surveyor straight up. Listen, you got to do this and that, and don't expect me to start doing your job.
You can do that, and it does help. You end up working with them to get it over the line, because at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to both owners to get things sorted out and get an award in place if there's a dispute. So, you have a responsibility. It's just irritating, to be honest, especially then when they can say your fees are too high. Well, they're only too high because you didn't do your job. I mean, that's it hasn't actually happened to me, but I've heard it happen to other people.
Yeah, so I was going to say it's probably what's happening more often now. If you as an adjoining owner surveyor have to do all the work, then all of a sudden, hey, listen, you've charged X amount, and this is far too much.
It is, it's a trend. I don't know the answer. It's going to get worse. There's no question about it. I mean, commercial pressures and people undercutting fees is bound to cause its own problems. The government have been for the last 40 years sort of absolutely committed to free market economics, and that's it. You can't control fees, can you? That's what the market will bear. The trouble is when you've got a stat appointment and the rest of it, it makes it difficult.
And with more and more quote unquote party wall surveyors out there, it is bound to go. The fees are bound to go south, right?
Yeah, I think they will. No question about it.
Except for the very few that are the good people and recognised and stuff who can actually who can ask for higher fees and therefore stay on par. But
yeah, that's going to be. I think that market will become more limited. I think the big developers will use the people they want because the value is in getting it sorted out properly and quickly, as opposed to saving a few £100. But I do think generally the market, there will be downward pressure on fees. No question about it at all.
So, conclusion: don't don't get into the party wall business because it's gonna.
Well, it's still. I think it'll still be a profitable business, and there's always going to be room for people who are very good at whatever you do. I mean, there's a premium to be charged if you want someone who's really good at it, whatever it is. But no, eventually the market will balance out, which is effectively what the government expected to happen. Unfortunately, quality goes out the window when that happens.
Yeah, right.
But there's plenty of people around charging eye-watering fees who don't add value. I mean, so it's two sides to the story, really.
And everything. So that's good because we're going to cover what makes a good party wall surveyor later on. Before we get there, so second question was very specific and it's probably yes or no answer, but it's about the kind of 2 months period of a and so the example is a party structure notice with a 2 months notice period is the subject of a dispute and an award. The award is served before the end of the 2 months period. Can the building owner carry on with the works, or will he still require consent from the adjoining owner to proceed before the 2 months notice period is complete?
Yes, he will. There you go. I would also say, though, I mean, 2 months to get an award out, it's doable, but it doesn't. It doesn't happen when the owners don't like each other. They will not respond. They will allow the 10 days to run out. So you've used a month before you've even got surveyors appointed. Then by the time they've decided they won't let you in to do the scheduling condition for another fortnight and all the rest of it, you're going to be over 2 months anyway. And once 2 months is run, you can start straight away. So I would suggest that if you had a situation where the dispute was, well, I'd really like an award in place, but we like each other anyway, you'll probably get consent. And people do start anyway, and I'm not entirely sure legally, other than trying to get an injunction, which is likely to fail, I would guess, but what you can do about it. I mean, at the end of the day, what you should be encouraging neighbours to do is talk to each other and reach agreement. You shouldn't be encouraging disputes. You should be trying to settle disputes when they occur, but also, if they live next door to each other, we're all going to walk away and leave it. They've got to carry on living next door to each other. They should be talking. But the short answer is yes, you would need their consent, I think.
How do you encourage that? How do you do that?
I almost say what I've just said to you. Look, I'm going to walk away from this. You're going to be living next door to them for the foreseeable future. Don't fall out if you don't have to. I mean, yes, there are certain things you might not like and things you might want to negotiate if you can to reduce the impact on you. But the bottom line of it is they're neighbours, so treat your neighbours as you'd like to be treated as a neighbour, I think. Again, that has got worse over the last 20 years. Neighbours are not as neighbourly as they used to be.
No. Yeah, it's only going one way, right?
Yeah, you can understand it when it's, big developer moves next door is going to make a load of money out of making your life a misery. You can understand it, but when it's actually your neighbour who wants to carry out some relatively modest works, like basements again, I understand that. I wouldn't want to live next door to one, but I think try and be reasonable. Try and reach a accord with your neighbour, and far too many. There aren't enough notices that are consented. I'll put it that way. There's this knee-jerk, let's get surveyors and let's have a dispute. Whereas, if you're cutting a beam into a wall to do a roof extension and everything else, I mean, providing you've got a schedule of condition and the neighbours underwritten your cost, why would you dissent, really? But they do.
Yeah, but there's a natural conflict as well for surveyors. I'm sorry for saying that, but if an adjoining owner calls you up and says, I just got this notice, you have a duty to try and push that adjoining owner to consent, maybe if it is
I think you
straight.
have a duty to point out the options. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's entirely up to them whether they want to.
Mm,
If it was one I genuinely thought they should consent, I would put that to them a bit more strongly and say, well, why are you dissenting? What are you dissenting? What are you worried about? I mean, there are ways to cover most of these things without incurring, literally probably thousands of pounds, let alone hundreds of pounds in most cases. Um, so, yeah, I suppose what you're saying is you have a commercial bias, I suppose. I don't think most good party wall surveyors would do that. I'd like to think most of them would point out that really and truthfully you could comfortably consent this. Doesn't throw the act away. If you end up in dispute about damage, you can always fall back on it later. Yeah, that I think is the advice you should give.
yeah. Well, that takes us nicely to the next question of what makes a good party wall surveyor.
Yeah, I gave that a lot of thought actually, because there isn't a definitive answer, because you meet people from all walks of life, and some are good and some are bad. Most of the ones I respect, they've been good building surveyors or construction professionals anyway before. They have a grounding in construction. They understand how buildings go together, so they understand when they get a set of drawings, they can read them. They can understand the potential ramifications, what's likely to cause a problem, what probably can be comfortably put aside. So I think that's the first thing I would like to see. A good party wall surveyor. Yeah. I think you need to be qualified. I've met plenty of party wall surveyors who aren't qualified, who are very competent. One of the worst party wall surveyors I ever met was a fellow of the RICS, so there's no absolute on that. I do think, though, if you're a member of one of the big construction institutions, there's a governance involved. There's a governance covering ethics, conflicts of interest, and that sort of thing that you have to abide by. So I suppose, yes, I would like people to be members of one of the institutions, so that they're covered by the other things outside the Act, if you like. Whether you're good at your job or not, there are ways of dealing with it. You can appeal awards if you're not doing party wall awards. You get sued by your clients. It happens, but the governance, the way you behave and the way you run your business is important, I think. And so I think they should be members. At the moment, anyone can do it. Beyond that, construction knowledge I've just mentioned, understanding of the Act. It's amazing how many people haven't read it. It should be with you. I mean, when I ran contracts, I had a copy of the contract on my desk all the time. You should have a copy of the Act, or Green Book, or whatever available. You should keep abreast of case law, because it changes. There's getting more and more cases taken to court. Still not very many.
How do you do that? Sorry.
How do I do that? I keep. There's a couple of solicitors' firms that keep blogs of recent cases. I obviously go to a lot of the P&T presentations, and I meet a lot of party wall surveyors socially, and it's amazing how often you end up talking about case law. But you need to make an effort. I mean, it's as simple as that. You're not a lawyer; you don't have to know the whole bits and pieces of it. But there are cases recently that have made a difference to the way you should behave. I think it's incumbent upon you as a professional to keep up to date. It's as simple as that, really. Beyond that, it's a personality thing. If you're reasonable and even-handed, most people treat you in a like manner. I mean, you've got to be firm when you think they're wrong, obviously, but look to reach agreement. Don't look to cause discord. Don't look to create disputes. Basically, I mean, I had a situation last year where I got this thing through from this joining owner surveyor, and I said, but the owners aren't in dispute. He said, but we are. I said, but that's not what the Act's for. I mean, if the owners aren't in dispute, they've agreed this. I mean, why are you getting involved? So it's a question of it's a personality thing, I think, as well. And to say there isn't a definition of, that's what a party wall surveyor should be, and that's what it wasn't any more than there is anything else, really. It's a combination of things. But you need that background. You do need the background to do it properly.
And do you think this statute should have defined a little bit better what a party wall surveyor should have been, or should kind of?
Personally, I would have liked it to have defined it as a member of the construction institutions. No, not necessarily chartered, qualified, but a member, so that you're covered by governance. That would at least give some control over it. Not a lot, but it would be some. You'd have some ways to complain if you really thought that someone was behaving badly.
And do you think that's something that will be put in place eventually?
I don't know whether we'll ever get a chance to amend the Act. I mean, it was, great thing when it was done. The trouble with having an Act of Parliament as opposed to an instrument on the side of one is to change it, you've got to go back to the House of Commons, and they've other things on their mind most of the time, especially at the moment. So I don't know. It would be nice if we could amend the Act. But there again, you'd update it, and then in a few years' time, things would happen that you didn't foresee, and you'd want to change it again. I mean, so I doubt it. Is the truth of the matter.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, and education then obviously forms part of that. So keeping updated,
Yeah.
case law, and so let's go to the training part then, because a lot of people have actually asked about training, and so your views on current training for surveyors who want to educate themselves on the application and interpretation of the Party Wall Act. Is current training available adequate?
There isn't a great deal of actual training, official training. You don't have to train. You just call yourself Party Wall Surveyor and do it. At the P&T, we have guidance notes, but that's all they are. They're guidance notes. I mean, I don't absolutely agree with everything that's written in them, but they're a way to say this is the way we believe you should interpret the Act. They're available to read, and it's amazing how many people don't. We run in London. We run about, I think it's 10 there'll be this year, sort of evening presentations on various aspects. We've recently polled the membership to see what they're interested in hearing about, so we do that. You've got to be prepared to read. You've got to be prepared to do a bit of effort, especially with case law, because it's largely on the solicitor's website, so you've got to go look for it. There's been a couple of recent books written on the Act by lawyers worth reading, because, eventually you'll end up involved with them, and you do need to understand how they think about it. Completely different to the way surveyors do, by and large. They're advocates, but they also read things literally, whereas surveyors interpret, well, that's not really what it meant, and that's probably what we're trying to do, and that's the reasonable thing. You'll find a lawyer, depending on which side he's on, will simply take the literal view if it suits him, and the other one if it doesn't. You need to understand that, and you need to have some basic understanding of how it works. Is the training good enough? It is if you've come through as an experienced surveyor, I think. You'll get involved and take easy ones when you start. I mean, you should never take on a job that you're not sure you can do. So if you've not experienced Party Wall Surveyor, don't take on a basement, for argument's sake. It's going to end up going to be messy, and if you're not experienced and you're not up to date with everything, you're going to struggle. But you get a small domestic extension, whatever else, the actual process is the same, but the arguments up, and get used to doing it and sort of learn on the job. Hopefully you won't be on your own. You'll be working in a company where there are other experienced surveyors around who can guide you. That's probably the best way to learn of a good surveyor. I think it works to a degree, providing that you have that basic background. If you're coming in cold and you've got no surveying experience at all, I don't know how you learn how to do it, to be honest with you. If you ever could, you'd have to go backwards and do loads of things that aren't directly involved. So I think it's a strange question, really.
But I think it's probably coming from there's a lot of theory to it, and I don't know if are there any practical kind of training sessions and that are a bit more hands-on. I don't know. Obviously,
I think in companies it happens. I mean, I have junior staff that work with me, and I make an effort to train them. I don't just say go and do that. I explain why. I explain what needs to be done. I advise them to do the background reading. I quiz them about it. I mean, I train them. I have a responsibility to train my junior staff, and I do. And I'm sure most of the other practices do the same. And that's the best way to learn, basically. Mm. But as for training outside it, if you were on your own, well, really shouldn't be doing it. Quite honestly.
No. You mentioned the guidelines. It's interesting because someone asked a specific question. Do you feel the P&T guidelines accurately reflect the process and methods in use at the moment? I.e., are they actually updated?
They are updated constantly, actually, and we have loads of arguments about what should be in it, because they are a matter of opinion, a lot of these things. I mean, there's a real lack of precedent legal cases on the Act. But yeah, they are, I can absolutely guarantee you, they are updated all the time. They are looked at all the time. The reason it takes a long time to come out is because we take a long time to agree what we want to say. Um, Basically,
Imagine.
I mean, we've just redone the one on security for expenses, which I agree with the principle. I'm not sure that would stand up in court. We'll have to wait and see, because the Act doesn't define it at all. But we made a stand and say that's what we think should include. Because otherwise you can hold the building owners to ransom, otherwise, which I think will happen, and we'll see. Probably a big London case with the basement, I would guess.
Yeah.
Then we'll see what happens. But no, they are constantly updated. But as I say, I don't agree with everything that's in all of them, and I don't suppose anybody does. So if that's what the question was about, then they're in good company. But they are updated regularly.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, security for expenses is something that I might have to cover eventually.
Yeah, it's a difficult. It needs a case, actually, to be honest with you. I mean, it would be lovely to get a precedent judge to say that's reasonable and that's not what it should include. I think we'd be very lucky to get that. But at the moment, it could include anything theoretically. It just says you can request security of expenses. Dispute the surveyors can decide. The danger is, of course, that you decide on a limited basis. Someone loses money and decides to sue you because you didn't include things they should have been included. I hope I'm not on the receiving end of that when it happens.
Yeah.
But you very rarely use money from security of expenses. I have done it, but it's interesting when you talk to experienced surveyors that how rarely do you ever have to draw on the money, and almost never for what it was actually originally intended for. It's usually there's a bit of damage that's occurred and you've got the money there, so you use it to get it done. But it's in there for different reasons usually.
Mm-hmm. And to conclude, how do you see the market behaving the next 12 months with everything coming our way? And have you felt a difference already? Can you see?
Yeah, I mean, in surveying terms, the vast majority of what building surveyors do require somebody to do a building project. Dilapidations is probably the only major area that doesn't. But otherwise, someone's got to decide to build something, and there's no two ways about it. The activity has slowed. Our licences to alter have slowed in central London. Party walls is probably about evens actually, but we've been trying a bit harder to get the work. Brexit has made an uncertainty, especially the way they're carrying on about doing it. I think the changes to stamp duty made an enormous difference in central London, certainly, and to slow people down. That eventually will work its way through. People will get used to it. So I would guess it's going to be an interesting year. I mean, we're budgeting to do worse this year than we did last year. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And we've cut our cloth accordingly. And if we get lucky, fantastic. But I don't think we will. I think we'll probably be 10% down, I would guess, on turnover.
Right. Okay. So, but party wall itself, normally when people don't buy or sell, they tend to extend. Right? So
yeah, that would be generally, but that seems to have slowed down a bit. To be honest with you, I don't know. I think everyone's just sitting on their hands, waiting to see what happens. It becomes, every time you talk to someone, I'm not quite sure, there's uncertainty, and so it breeds uncertainty. We need a boost of confidence, and we certainly haven't got that at the moment, have you? I mean, it's almost got to the stage you don't want to read the papers. It's just depressing, isn't it? What are we going to do? I don't mind just do it, for God's sake. I mean, we'll get on with it. But I think we've got a few months of that to go. Is it February, isn't it? That's bound to get extended, I would guess. So we've probably got another year's uncertainty coming up.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, Stuart, thank you very much. Last question.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this.
I did.
Last question. Who do you think I should interview next?
Who have you interviewed so far?
Oh,
have you interviewed Michael Cooper?
I have. Yes.
You have. You might have done. He's quite opinionated.
Yeah, we didn't actually cover much. It was more about the about him and his life, and
yeah,
I should get him back on to just try to get into more.
No, he's quite good value actually. If you wanted to, who else? Oh gosh, you've done Andy Schofield. He's another one. I assume you've done Alistair and Graham North. Yeah.
Graham North? No, I haven't done Graham North yet.
It'll be interesting with Graham because he was the heir to Anstey. I mean, he has a slightly more relaxed view than a lot of surveyors nowadays. So yeah, I think he'd be a good one.
Yeah,
I think you should do him anyway because of who he is, basically.
I'll do that. I'll try to reach out to him yet again.
Yeah, well, yes, you're not good at coming back to you. I'll grant you that. He's very slow.
Well, Stuart, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
You.
Thank you. Cheers.